When I first bought the Nokia Lumia 920 off eBay, I didn't plan to do this video really. I just kind of bought it because there's this guy called Snazzy Labs and he's been doing some things about the Zune, which was a media player that used a similar sort of interface to Windows Phone. But yeah, I didn't think I'd be looking at this and would be thinking that it's even got a perfect customer. But first, I do still want to say some of the ways that this phone has gotten really, really bad. So, just to get it out there, Microsoft have officially stopped supporting this phone. Windows Phone is no longer a thing, and I mean, this is a phone from 2013, I think it was, when I first got this. I mean, I basically had this exact same phone before in around 2013. But yeah, I do blame Microsoft a lot for this phone dying. Yes, the developers played a hand in it, in the sense of they weren't really supporting it with their apps. Microsoft did a terrible job of keeping phones updated. Just knowing which phones were going to get which updates, the amount of updates they had, the frequency of them. There was just a lot of confusion when it came to updates. You know, you'd get a phone thinking that it would be supported for quite a while, but then it just wouldn't be supported. In fact, there's a very good video that I watched on this a while ago, and I'll leave that in the description if you want to see the whole history of Windows Phone. But yeah, basically, as of now, the Windows 10 mobile store, that store is still fully functional, it's still working as it should, but the Windows Phone 8.1 store has officially been discontinued, so if I hadn't have updated this phone to Windows 10 Mobile, I wouldn't have been able to get anything from the store. Which, by the way, this phone doesn't officially support Windows 10 Mobile, but there is a workaround to get to Windows 10 Mobile, which I'll leave in the description down below again. But then, when I say that the store's working, the store is really bad on Windows 10 Mobile. For starters, there's lots of apps in there that say that they work on mobile, but they just don't. There's a lot of the major apps, for example, Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, which, by the way, Google just never wanted to have their things on Windows Phone because they're their competitor. And just in general, many apps that people consider to be essential apps are just not available on this phone. And some major apps weren't actually available back when I was using this in around 2013. I mean, I remember Flappy Bird. I mean, this isn't going to sound like a big deal at all. Remember, I was like a high schooler, 16 or something. You know, everything is a big deal to a teenager. But yeah, there wasn't Flappy Bird on my Windows Phone. There was this like knockoff, kind of like Flappy Bird thing, but it was total rubbish, I remember. And I was so jealous of everyone that had Flappy Bird and I didn't. And as of now, there are some games, but there's not a lot of games, and the selection really isn't that amazing. It's a lot of Candy Crush and, you know, the company that makes Candy Crush, just those sorts of games. And then when I go and try out the third-party apps, which, by the way, there were some for Facebook, and I think there was one for Instagram too, they either, one, just flat out don't work. For example, the Facebook Messenger app just doesn't work. They are extremely slow, or they just want you to pay to do pretty much anything with them. And honestly, just using third-party apps on this phone is just a really bad experience. It's not a phone that I'd be able to have as my daily phone anymore. It's pretty much impossible at this point. The only exceptions to this I really saw were Twitter and Netflix, with both of them doing a pretty good job with their apps. Their apps work actually totally fine, especially the Netflix app. It works really well. I mean, yes, this is a really old phone, so that may factor into why these apps aren't working that well. But also, just looking at the store itself, even if you did have one of the newer phones from Windows Phone, I do feel like you still wouldn't be able to use this as your daily driver. Because even if you take performance out of the equation, there just aren't enough third-party major apps to really make this phone live up to an equivalently priced phone from Android or iOS. When you're talking about paying a good amount to get a phone that's going to be your daily driver. But there are also first-party apps, and this is where I start to see this phone catering to a particular audience. So the first-party apps work perfectly fine, they work great. You know, the dialer works great, the contacts work great, the email's really good too. And there's OneNote that comes pre-installed on the phone, and so long as you've got a subscription, OneNote works basically just like Evernote. There is an Evernote on this phone, but I could fully switch over to using OneNote if I was to have to use this phone. So the audience that I think that this will be perfect for is an audience where they want a secondary work phone. A phone where they don't have any distractions from things like Snapchat, Twitter, all of the social media stuff, and games like Clash Royale and stuff like that. A phone where basically you take phone calls, you check your email, you receive text messages, you browse the web maybe occasionally, and don't have any of the distractions. Because the thing is, on an Android phone or an iOS phone, why do I call it an iOS phone? Because the thing is, on an Android phone or an iPhone, yes, you can not have those apps installed, but there's always the temptation to, go into the store, download this app, because, I don't know, somebody was mentioning it in the corridor or something. And yeah, you just want to give it a go, and then, your evening's gone on Clash Royale. But yeah, with this phone, making it not even be a possibility to download any of these apps, and yeah, you can go and watch Netflix, sure. But yeah, if you aren't bothered about Netflix, I guess, this is a very good work phone where you can just put your other phone away, pick this phone up, and just, if you're going out to work, just bring this phone with you so you'll be disconnected from all that stuff. I feel like it's really good for that. But it isn't just the lack of apps that ironically make this a phone that I think would be good as a work phone and would be useful to that particular audience. But there's also this feature called deep linking, which I think is pretty great. So from within quite a few first-party apps, you can actually pull out individual things and have them be their own tile on the start screen. For example, you can pull out contacts. If you're on OneNote, you can pull out individual documents or individual notebooks and have those on the start screen and maybe group them together into a folder so you can go specifically to where you want to go within the OS. And then finally, there's just the pricing of Windows phones. Now, because they're not supported anymore, the prices are just going to keep going down and down, and I feel like for somebody who is using maybe a brick Nokia phone or just using a really outdated phone at this point as their work phone, I feel like this, ironically, since it's Nokia again, would be a good alternative to them using that brick phone. Whether it's through live tiles or notifications, they'll be able to keep up to date with everything and see everything at a glance, as you do with notifications on live tiles. They wouldn't have to deal with however you do that on a phone. They'd also have emails there too, if they get work emails. And yeah, it's a good kind of middle ground, I'd say, between, a full brick phone that basically only texts and calls, and an Android phone, which, yes, can be just for work, but can have all those distractions if you have no self-control, basically. So yeah, for those particular people, I think Windows 10 Mobile or even Windows Phone 8.1, if they don't mind not having access to the App Store, are more than good enough to be able to use this as a work phone. If you want me to do any more videos with this phone, be sure to let me know down in the comment section down below. I'm open to suggestions on that. And click over here for another video you'd probably enjoy. That's not related to this phone as of yet, but is probably something you'd enjoy, as I said before. So yeah, anyway, for now, I hope you'll have a great day. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.